Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So I gave them great hope that you will help them out to find the right channels to market the right product and service.
That is fantastic. You're putting expectations here, so now I have to deliver on that. First of all, thanks for having me, and respect for you all that you took the day off to be here. And I know you're all really busy with your business. It's a long day, but thank you for that. Unfortunately, I don't speak Latvian. I tried, but I don't. So I asked the friendly people here if they could at least translate a nice welcome message to you guys. So it should be like, Kāpēc tu valkā biksturus, tu izskāties muļķīgi?
Is that what they asked you? Bikšturis tu. Vēl kādam ir bikšturi? Paceļ rokas, lūdzu. Yeah. We have 3 muļķīgi izskatās cilvēki. Good luck.
My name is Polle de Maagt. I'm Dutch. I live in Belgium. And it is because I met the most beautiful girl in the world, and she was from Belgium. And then we discussed, like we do a lot of times, where we should move, the Netherlands or Belgium, and of course I lost. So now we live in Belgium. And that means I travel a lot. I do a lot of talking, do a lot of projects, mainly in Amsterdam, London, and in the rest of Europe. And 2 years ago, the best thing ever happened. My daughter was born, my daughter Ella, you see it on the picture here. So it's fantastic to travel, fantastic to meet people like you, but it's a heartbreaking thing to miss her. So I miss her a lot, but hey, that's part of the deal. The last couple of years, I had a digital strategy for a range of companies ranging from Nike, IKEA, KLM, Legos, and Starbucks. And I'll use some of the cases in my presentation to help you rethink how you attract your customers. And what I think is pretty interesting, and we've seen a lot of great speakers today, is that digital opens completely new opportunities and really changes everything. And that also made me think, does digital really change everything? And it was interesting, there was an experiment in the Netherlands. It started out in 2011, and what they did, they went to a small village called Veenendaal, and there they had a lot of retail shops, and they equipped all these retail shops with the coolest technology you could think of. So all the retail shops had iPads, QR codes, Bluetooth things, so if you would enter the store, you would get notifications. You could not think of it, or they would have it. And in 3 years later, 2014, they stopped the experiment and they asked the different retailers, what did you like about the experiment? And I love this quote. It's one of the retailers, Hans van Dijk, who told, by focusing so much on technical possibilities, we completely forgot what we do really well. Helping our customers in a nice and friendly way and making sure the sidewalk is clean. That's what it's all about. And I think that should be the main takeaway for today as well. Yes, there are fantastic technologies that help us grow, but really the core is about our customers and how we can make their lives better. So for me, innovation isn't so much about using these cool new shiny technology. It's really about solving existing problems better than they're currently solved. And you guys as entrepreneurs, you all solve problems in your way and try the best, and I think it's really interesting to explore it here. So digital doesn't change everything for me. It does change a lot, but not everything. And just to give you some ideas, I took pictures from an article in Wired, a technology magazine, and what they asked families in different areas of the world to show what did they buy online, what did they buy on websites. So this is a family in Mongolia, and they're showing everything from television to clothing to furniture they bought. This is a guy in Beijing who's buying drones and other technology, cool stuff. And even monks in Tibet who buy fumes and who buy candles for their things over there. So it's pretty cool to see that technology is really liberating that way and that you can reach pretty much everyone over the world. When it comes to digital thinking and how you should really attract your customers, the year 2010 was really a turning point for me. With my then girlfriend, my now wife, I went to Italy and we went to Florence and we stayed at a really nice bed and breakfast. And there the owner is called Eduardo. Eduardo is an Italian, he's a former ski teacher, so he's just twice my size, this and this way. He's really bronzed, and of course, like Italians do, they flirted with my wife. And at the end of the several days, we left bed and breakfast, and Eduardo asked me, Polle, did you like your stay here? And I said, yes, So then Eduardo gave me this exact note, and he asked me, Polle, if you liked it here, can you please go to TripAdvisor and leave a review? And then he took a pencil and circled around the 5 stars and asked me, if you do leave a review, can you please do 5 stars? So I said, Eduardo, of course I will do that. And later we went to the next city, and then that night I checked TripAdvisor to just see what was the main idea of Eduardo behind this scheme. And then I saw the #1 bed and breakfast in Italy that year was Eduardo Bed and Breakfast. And the #7 bed and breakfast in Europe was actually Eduardo's Bed and Breakfast. And what I really, really like about this example is that it's a normal, small bed and breakfast in Firenze. It's a guy who's really, really smart, who knows there will be a lot of consumers in my bed and breakfast. How can I use this? Okay, I can ask them to leave a review. People forget, so how can I help them not forget by giving them a paper like this? And why is this so important? Of course it is important because a lot of tourists actually go to TripAdvisor and see where they can find a bed and breakfast. So it's a really, really simple thing. It's not expensive, it's not high tech, but it's extremely simple and efficient. So if your product is great, it will be even better online. Another example there was in the same year, 2010. I started working for an airline carrier, KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, and in 2010 this happened. So some of you might remember, some of you might have been stuck somewhere in Europe, but the ash cloud happened. And during the ash cloud, a lot of people were stuck at specific airports. So this is Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam Airport, during this ash cloud, and a lot of people, and you can imagine if you queue up as the last one in the line how horrible this must be. But people were standing in line like this. They were trying telephones to call KLM. They were trying Facebook and Twitter, which had just emerged. At least everything to contact KLM, at least get away from Amsterdam. And Amsterdam is still a nice place to be, but still get away from Amsterdam. And it was really a turning point in the thinking of KLM, saying, okay, we really have to be where our customers are, and if they're on social media and if they start asking questions there, we really, really should be there for them. So they started out with 1 person doing social media questions. By the end of the week, they have 6, and by now they have over 200 people doing daily customer service on Facebook, Twitter, and other channels. But the key thing came when KLM Royal Dutch Airlines came to the advertising agency I worked at the time, and they asked me, can you do something cool with social media? And then we came up with this.
Welcome to KLM Surprise. Armed with our social media toolkit, our little experiment began. First job, find KLM passengers who had checked into their flight via one of KLM's 4 square locations or left a message through Twitter. Second job, search their social profiles. Get to know them as well as you can to think of a personalized gift. Third job, hunt them down and deliver the gift. After several weeks of handing out little gifts, a few things became apparent. In the age of social media, doing something that creates a real smile on somebody's face is much cooler than attaching a smiley face. But most importantly, it seemed that indeed an airline could use social media to both surprise and make a small difference to a passenger's day. And we're not just guessing, we know, because they told us, and their friends, massively.
Like it? Hate it? You're way too kind. We did a presentation in Tallinn yesterday as well, and I just asked, did you like it, did you hate it? And they started clapping as well, and you also. I just asked if you liked it. I really appreciate you clapping, but that's... Next time if I need clapping, I will ask you. Okay, sorry. But the key learning point, I really like doing this, and a fantastic time to spend to surprise people. But a key lesson came somewhere after week 3 of surprising people. Someone who sent a Twitter message to KLM saying, KLM, I think this campaign is amazing and so cool, but where is my suitcase? And that pretty much summed it up. So you can do all the cool marketing campaigns in the world, but if you don't have your basics straight, people will always, and rightfully, be dissatisfied. And it really changed the way I started doing marketing and spending more time on how to keep our customers happy rather than doing all these fancy new technology stuff. So there it really says, if your product sucks, it will suck even harder online. So please be aware of that. Another interesting thing that happened just a few months later in 2011, I went for lunch with a friend in London. And we got a bill receipt, and at some point I saw there was a handwritten thank you note, thank you written on it. So I went to the owner of the bar and asked him, why did you handwritten thank you on it? And he said, it's just a business case. I know if I do a handwritten thank you, I have 28% more tips than if I don't. And I asked him, how do you know? And I said, well, I just tested it. Last week I didn't, this week I did, and I have more tips. And yet again, it's an extremely simple and not technological, innovative concept, but it's a really simple thing. Just test things to see if it works, and if it works, please do it. Another thing I really like, it is about being about the customer. And now every time if I get a receipt and there's a handwritten thank you note on it, I know a person tested it, but at least for some people it's still a nice thing to have. Why it is so important to test is because people act irrationally. You only know what people really, really want by testing it. It's not asking him, it's really about testing it. And just another example, and I love doing small examples, either online or offline. This is an offline example we did. We wanted to seduce people to take the stairs rather than the elevator. So what we did is we tested a lot of things. We did footsteps from the door to the elevator. We did lines from the door to the elevator. We did signs and show if you take the stairs, you lose so many calories every day. And it turned out the best thing to do is just do the red lines from the door to the stairs, and 70% more people will actually take the stairs. Which is really, really cool to test, but also frightening, because apparently people behave like lemmings and just follow lines if you have the lines there. So if you want to seduce people in your office to use the stairs more, just do these lines and see happen and enjoy, see what happens. So 3 main things I want to talk with you today. Keeping your customers, attracting new customers, and changing your company. So what happens from time to time when you're a company is that you make mistakes, that you screw up. And it isn't so much that you screw up, it is really how you react on that. And I think you can relate to that in a personal environment. Usually the best friends are the people who can actually fight with, but also can agree with and come together again. So this would happen with KLM, a company I work for a lot from time to time. There is a huge disruption, there is snow or whatever happens, and this happens. And what is important to know then, and we didn't realize before, is that in every stages of irritation, people want other things. So in the beginning, if you just get confronted with the line, you just want to know what happened and how well it's solved. By the end of the line, if you try to get compensation, people don't react, etc., etc., at the end of the line, you just want to know, okay, KLM, you completely screwed it up. How will you make sure it won't happen ever again? And is there any reason why I should fly with you again? And in every stage, there's a different need there. But a key thing we learned there is that if you screw up, it isn't so much about compensation there, it's really about the empathy you show. So this is small research we did within KLM. Our customer service department did it. And they checked with people how they would rate KLM if they screwed up, and they give them compensation. So the compensation ranges from €0 to more than 500 euros. And what we mainly measured is how do people react if you show empathy and if you don't show empathy. So if you don't show empathy, so if you are just like, okay, we screwed up, we lost your luggage, here's 500 euros, how would you react versus, I'm so sorry, I will try my very, very best to get it as soon as possible, and is there maybe something we can do for you, here's a cup of coffee. There's a huge difference in that, and something I didn't expect. So even if you don't show empathy and just give people 500 euros, they are still not happy. They will give you a 1.2 on a scale of 10. It's mainly because they feel bribed for you screwing up. And while you show empathy, really the height of compensation really, really doesn't matter. So this is pretty interesting, where it really shows that it isn't so much about the fact that you screw up, it's really about how you solve the things after that. And what's the interesting thing there as well is the difference between doing things that are easy for the company and things that are easy for the customer. So up until 2 years ago, if you would have lost something on an airplane at KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, you would have to fill out this form. This form has 2 sides. You would have to send it to Amsterdam. Then you would have to call to Amsterdam, hope that your lost item was found there, and then you maybe could retrieve it or give us money to give it back to you. And there was a woman at the customer service department saying, this is just so stupid that we do it that way. So for example, if you would lose your iPad on board, you probably know where it is. It's seat 16E, for example. So if you can contact us directly via Facebook, and we can instantly send someone to your chair, the chance that we actually can retrieve your iPad is quite high. But if you have to fill out a form, send it in, call, and maybe retrieve, the chance of actually retrieving your iPad is close to 0. So it's actually really, really a smart thing to think. So she started out, in the first couple of weeks she retrieved several teddy bears, several iPads, several laptops, but now there's a full-time team still in place of 28 people who retrieve lost objects, and we were so happy with it that we made a movie out of it.
Persoonlijk vind ik hem gewoon een aanwinst voor het bedrijf en hij kan ook echt iets wat niemand anders kan.
Ons primaire doel is om gevonden voorwerpen zo snel mogelijk terug te brengen naar de eigenaar. We houden daarvoor social media in de gaten en de crew die na elke vlucht het vliegtuig checkt. Ik vind het ook wel heel erg leuk dat we natuurlijk een beetje hulp daarbij krijgen.
Trainen op spierkracht, uithoudingsvermogen en ja, socialiseren. Zo. Ja, en als je die reacties ziet, dan is dat eigenlijk wel heel mooi.
Hij komt regelmatig langs, maar ja, ik moet ook eerlijk bekennen, ik verwen hem ook wel.
Mind your step. Mind your step.
Thank you. I will tell Marise. Marise is the girl who actually thought of the idea and was the one who was brave enough to actually go to Schiphol Airport to start a system. And what I like about this is that it's not a campaign saying you have to fly KLM because we fly to Bali or another cool destination. It's really a campaign saying, okay, we feel your pain, we screw up from time to time, you lose some things on a flight, we have now a new service that can actually help you in that, and let's highlight that in marketing things, which is a completely different way of doing marketing. This campaign, the KLM campaign, of course, is expensive, but it's like a third or a fourth of a normal campaign you would see doing on television. And it had over 25 million people actually seeing this campaign. So it was by far the most successful campaign we ever did. But it doesn't always have to be a big campaign. This is my local doctor, my local physician in Merelbeke, which is a small city near Ghent, which is a small city in Belgium. And this is our physician, and he has a deal with my wife. My wife thinks she has to lose weight. I disagree, but you know how women are. So the deal is, every time she eats something, she posts a picture of it on Instagram. And if it's healthy, our doctor will like it. If it's not healthy, he won't like it. So, fresh tomatoes, healthy, so he likes it. So it's Karim de Boever is his name, Karim DB. This is mashed potatoes with something filled with minced meat. It's not healthy. And here is muesli with bananas, which is healthy, and he likes it. So it's a really, really simple way for him to show my wife that he cares and he's actually involved. And if you look further into data, if you see which doctors have the most healthy patients, but also which doctors are rated highest, are the doctors who spend a little bit more time on their patients. And the doctor will ask, so how is your home? Is everyone okay in the family? And really show empathy there. And this is a really smart and scalable way to show empathy. It's really easy for him to, I guess he does that, to follow several ladies in that way and follow their diet. And why is this so important? Because getting a new customer is 7 times more expensive than keeping your existing customers. And there are some companies that are using really smart tactics to leverage that. So this is a telecom provider in Belgium. It's the 3rd or the 4th largest telecom provider in Belgium. And their full growth, they didn't do any advertising up until recently, and their full growth, and they have over 300,000 users, is through member gets member. So every time, for example, if you would be a Mobile Vikings member and you should use me to actually start as a Mobile Vikings member as well, you get a month full free internet and calling, which is an interesting incentive to explain me why I should go to Mobile Vikings. And all of the 300,000 users actually came through this system, which is a really smart way to use that. Another example I love is a company called Surprise Me. And it's a company that started in the Netherlands and they now have 40,000 people using this service. And what is the service? It's extremely simple. It pretty much says, okay, now buy a ticket, a blank ticket, go to the airport, and only at the airport you will hear where you will be flying and where you will be staying. So several months ago I bought a blank ticket with them. I went to the airport in Brussels and I scratched open their card, and I only then heard I would be going to Krakow. Which was a fantastic experience, by the way. And why is this interesting? Because normally if you plan a trip, you all plan a lot of things beforehand, and it's a bit boring, and you know where to come. What's really, really cool here is that they packed something that's really, really boring in a way into something that's really, really adventurous, at least seems adventurous. Actually, they have people saying this is the most adventurous thing I did in my life. I think that says more about these people than about the concept, but still, it is a concept that you would be talking about. If you buy a blank ticket and you say, where are you going this weekend? Your friends would ask, where are you going this weekend? And you say, I don't know, it's a surprise, see me. I buy the surprise ticket, which is a way more interesting conversation topic than saying, yeah, I'm flying to Krakow this weekend, yes, it will be fun. It's a completely different vibe. So what I think is really, really smart about this system is that they use their existing customers to have something to really, really talk about. And that's an interesting starting point to see how you can package what you are doing into something that's worth talking about as well. So as a company, you can either be ignored in, be victim of participate in these conversations. These conversations are really, really important. A really simple thing to do, and some of you, who is aware of the Net Promoter Score? I hope quite some of you. No? Okay. So it's a really, really simple metric, and there's a lot of pros and cons, but the basic idea is to check how happy people are and how willing they are to recommend. So the key question is, to what extent are you willing to recommend this product or service to your friends and or colleagues? And you can rate the company from 0 to 10. If it's a 9 or a 10, it's positive. It's a 0 to 6, it's negative. And a 7 or 8 is neutral. And what they do to calculate the Net Promoter Score, they take the promoters, take off the detractors, and then you have a score. And they do it in every single thing. So banks, for example, but also beers. And it also depends from culture to culture. So I'm from the Netherlands, and there we have Heineken beer. But I live in so in the Netherlands, Heineken beer is well known and also popular. So Heineken beer has a Net Promoter Score of +60. Well, in Belgium, where I live, they think Heineken is well suited to flush toilets. So if you would ask a Belgian, how would you rate Heineken beer, it's actually somewhere between -50 and -60. So really depending from culture to culture and country to country, some things will be differently rated. And it's quite an interesting thing to see, not only how people are willing to recommend your company, but also what is interesting to see how you can use your promoters, so the people who are really, really positive about your brand, to actually leverage them and spread the word about your company. So it's about starting measuring and leveraging your existing customers. When it comes to attracting new customers, it's really, really about understanding where you can meet them along the journey they're making, so their orientation and the buying process and different elements therein, and how you can intervene and make them buy it. So there's a wide variety of tools, and a lot of it is just common sense. So if I would go to a website of a company and there's no way to contact them, or if the website doesn't work, or if the website is under construction or whatever, that's just plain stupid. If there's an opportunity to send an email to the company and they won't reply within 3 weeks, that's just plain stupid. If you want people to buy your products but there's no buy button or there's no shop, that's just plain stupid. There are a lot of simple things you can do there. The more additional channels like blogs, leveraging your employees, emailing, social media, etc. But also the more new and promising things like social messaging, I'll get back to that later, and also Bluetooth and iBeacons. And that's not always difficult. So this is a barbershop in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and it's the coolest barbershop ever. They have over 700,000 people who like them on Facebook, and not because they bought the likes, but just, and you pretty much see it, they represent a specific lifestyle. So all these guys have a neatly trimmed beard, are full of tattoos, are the coolest guys you will ever meet. It's really hard to get in, so I think they have a waiting list of 6 months to actually go into the barbershop. They're well known in the Netherlands and people just love them. And how did they build that? Is mainly from being remarkable and sharing these kind of stories on their blog and on Facebook and social media. If I had a beard, because I have like a baby face, if I had a beard, I would go there, but unfortunately I can only watch. Another thing is smart use of employees. You know LinkedIn. There are a lot of companies testing with sales and acquisition via LinkedIn. Microsoft recently had an experiment, and of course Microsoft is larger companies, but I see that a lot of people who use the tooling with LinkedIn bring 1.7 times more opportunities and sales leads in the company. Another example, more advanced, and you were asking for, so how can you interact with people via WhatsApp? So this is a company from the Netherlands who operates globally, and they have a personal tailor via WhatsApp, a personal stylist via WhatsApp. So what you could do, for example, I could send them a photo with how I'm dressed right now and saying, I need a tie for dinner tonight, what would you recommend? And they would actually send you back a message via WhatsApp with 3 different ties and ask you which one would you like, and would you have us send us at home, or should we get it to one of our stores where you can pick it up? What's really, really interesting about this is that they recognize that a lot of people are on WhatsApp, which is a really convenient tool for a lot of people. So just being there, being where your customers are, is a really interesting way to acquire new customers. So being where your customers are and being different is extremely important there. Then my last point, and that might be the most important thing there, is changing your company to be more about these customers and to be more open and willing to acquire new customers. And that's extremely difficult. And this is just a small example. This is a guy I met a year ago, and he owns several travel shops in the Netherlands. And what he did, he thought it was a really, really good idea to ask all his front-end employees, so the people who were interacting with their customers, to have a budget of 500 euros, and they would be able to give away in gifts or discounts or whatever. So for example, it would have been your birthday, so they would send you some flowers. Or you buy something for your wife, and they would send you a card saying, awesome job by gifting your wife, or whatever. And after the first month, he went to his employees and asked, so what did you do with the 500 euros? And the first employee he encountered, he said, you will be really, really proud, Werner, because I only spent 5 euros. Which is a really interesting thing, because that's pretty much how we raise a lot of our employees. Up until now, we usually say to people, don't spend too much money, and if you're spending money, you have to report that and put it in an Excel sheet and keep the receipt, etc., etc. And it's really difficult to change a company from one moment having to report everything, and to the next moment saying, okay, just be open, help your customers, and give away free gifts and surprises. And that, especially for managers, is a way you have to manage that and get it into the DNA of your customers. Another thing that's really interesting is, this is an old document from the Office of Strategic Services, which is the company that existed, or the organization existed before the CIA existed. And in 1944, they created a document about how to sabotage countries. And what you can find in there, and it's pretty cool to read, is how you can make bombs from household materials, etc., etc., etc. But one of the coolest chapters in that is how to sabotage companies. And it reads like a normal Monday morning for me, saying, if you want to sabotage companies, when possible, refer all matters to committees for further study and consideration. Attempt to make the committees as large as possible, never less than 5. Another thing, bring up irrelevant issues as frequently as possible. Another one, advocate caution. Be reasonable and urge your fellow conferees to be reasonable and avoid haste, which might result in embarrassments or difficulties later on. And I wish it was a joke, but this is an actual document from the CIA, how to sabotage companies. And for a lot of companies, and especially the larger companies, this is just a normal Monday morning. So the question is how we can break that. And for me, it's a question of habits. It's installing the right things about thinking about customers. And one of the things is, for example, how you start your meetings. Usually when several years ago, when I would start a meeting, I would check my email, I would be walking into a meeting like this and finally closing a meeting. And starting a meeting, I would be primed at thinking about other meetings in the meantime. Well, if you start every meeting with a customer story, like something that went good or something that went bad or something that at least you can improve, the complete rest of the meeting will be different. You won't be thinking about other things, you will be thinking only about focus on the customer. It's a really simple thing. Another thing that's really, really important for me is my war against out-of-office replies. I think the worst thing ever invented is out-of-office replies. So what usually happens, you send an email to a company, they say, okay, this person is not available, you can contact a colleague, but probably he or she wouldn't be able to help you, and I will be back in 2 weeks. That's pretty much out-of-office reply. So why not make it something cool? By doing poetry, by sharing favorite books, sharing favorite movies, doing anything cool. Why is it so important? Several years ago, I worked at an advertising agency, and we had an internal competition to do something cool with out-of-office replies. And what happened there, instead that our customers were annoyed with it, we actually saw people testing our out-of-office reply every time we were away. So instead of making it something negative, we made it something insanely positive and actually a way to acquire new customers. And you would say, yeah, it's an advertising agency, that's easy. That's true. But not only advertising agencies do that. I worked for a company in bakery ingredients, and they had pretty much the same concept. So a lot of people from them traveled the world to see food trends. And every time if they had a new food trend, they would actually write an email about it, and that would be the new out-of-office reply. But the simplest thing is just make a habit out of it. Make a habit about your customers. And one of the things I just started doing is something called the 5-minute journal. And it's something I do every morning and every night. And it will ask me, what would make today great? So I have to think, what would I have to do today to actually make today a better day? And in the evening, list 3 amazing things that happened today to reflect on the day and what was great about it. And lastly, how could you have made today better? Another way to think, how can I improve from day-to-day business? So I talked about 3 things today. 1, keeping your customers. 2, attracting new customers. And 3, changing your company. The key takeaways are, for me, 1, really understanding your customers by testing. Start measuring and testing. Make a plan to keep your customers. Make a plan to attract new customers. And please start changing your companies today by starting these kind of habits. And one of the most important things there is do this, please, within 48 hours. I know it's a long day for you. It's quite an investment. It's a long day for me as well, and the other speakers as well. And please use the learnings you've learned from us today. Use the frameworks you got from Nick. Use the inspiration you got from the startup guys earlier today. Please do something in the next 48 hours. I hope you like it. Thank you very much, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Polle, thank you. But a question. Yes, and please write down right now one thing for you are going to do in 48 hours. You have 30 seconds right now.
And I'm pretty sure he will check.
Yeah, I will.
Each of you. Within the next 48 hours.
No. Selectively. Okay. But I will give you one answer until people are finishing to write down. Tātad lūdzu pierakstiet, kas ir tā lieta, ko jūs 48 stundu laikā grasāties darīt, lai liktu lietā to, ko jūs esat šodien dzirdējuši. 30 sekundes. So, until people are working hard, then I have one question, and probably you already answered, because the question went like this. Should be there a dedicated time for innovation or on top manager's agenda, or it will just happen organically, innovation, for example, in any field, in a product, service, marketing, channels.
Yeah,
So.
I think dedicated time, it's a bit strange for me.
So should we sit down like you did, that 5-minute journal thing, every morning, 5-minute innovation break?
I like these kind of habits, and I honestly really believe that if you can break specific habits, you can have a better life. And it's just like starting your meetings with a client story is a completely different way of starting your meetings. thinking every day, okay, what could I have done to make my customers' lives better? It's a really easy habit, but it completely changes how you perceive it. And that's why I think it's in a way strange, for example, to have an innovation department. It's just like in every person's DNA, there should be like a habit, okay, what could I have done to actually make this better?
So no department?
No, I hate departments in general.
No department. And some 5-minute breaks or 5-minute thing before the meeting, for example?
That would be perfect, yeah.
Okay, good. Vai kāds jautājums? Any questions? No.
Are you bored or fell asleep?
Yes. No, we have to prove that we are not bored.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. My name is Jānis. I work in venture capital, and I noticed that you mentioned that you have to measure and test your customers, which is easy when the sales cycle is very short. What about cases where the sales cycle is perhaps months or years? Let's say you are selling some kind of enterprise software, and there the outcome is only in a few years visible. So what would you measure and test in that case?
That's a really good question. I think everyone's, in a way, really many categories suffer that. So just to give you a really small example, an average person buys 1.4 tickets a year with KLM. So the cycle there is also quite long. And I know there are longer cycles, but still there's even in airline industry, there's a long cycle there. I think the most important thing is breaking your product or breaking what you do up in small enough chunks to be actually fast enough to iterate on that. If it takes you 5 years to actually see if things work, and then you have to add another 5 years to repeat it, I'm not sure if that's the best approach. So the key thing there would be breaking things up in small elements and test it there. And it could be anything. For example, I'm really maniacal in doing stuff like that, so I test email titles to see if my colleagues will respond to some email titles for us and other things, or coding kind of things. It's just everything is testable, and that's the cool thing about digital. You can do it, even if you break it down to small things. And I think the key takeaway there is asking your customer what they want is really, really difficult for people to actually tell you what they want. It's really from testing and seeing how they work that you really learn from that.
All right. Thank you, Polle.
Okay.
Thank you very much. For this.